Hey, this is Bruce, and today we're going to look at how to do keyframe animation. For the moment, I've just got a simple hover on the car that's translating or moving it to the right. But what we want to do is create an animation that will use keyframes so that we can have more complicated movement. So we come over here, you can see I've got my HTML, and inside my HTML, I've got the car image with an ID of car. So we've created a selector called car, and I've put a hover on it to get us started. But really what I want to do is I want to move it across the screen, turn around, and have it come back across the screen this way. So what we're going to do for this is we're going to create a keyframe animation. So we use the @ sign and then keyframes. And then we give our animation a name. This can be anything. I'm going to call it driving around, if I could spell, driving around. And then we use curly braces in order to put the animation in here. There's a number of different ways of doing it, but probably the most useful is to define where you want to start, so at 0% of the animation. And we're going to add a transform, translate X, similar to what we did for 2D transform. And we're going to start off at, well, let's just start off at 0 pixels. So we're just setting it to where it is. And then at 100%, so at the opposite end or at the end of our animation, we're going to define where we want it to be, So again, we're going to do translate X, and this time let's put, 600 pixels. So now we come up here, not there, here, and we're going to call the animation. So animation, we'll do long form for now, and then we can do the short form later. So driving around, and we have to define the animation duration. So animation duration. And let's make it 6 seconds for now. And I think that should be good. There's some other things about, how often we want it to animate and things like that. What's all this? How often we want it to animate and all that, but let's see if this works. So now you can see we've got our animation. It starts at 0 pixels, animates over 6 seconds. Let me just reload the page. Animates over 6 seconds to get to the 600 pixel mark, and then boop, goes back to the beginning. So let's change it so when it gets to the end, it just stops. So animation, fill mode, forwards. So it's going to go forwards, and then it won't go back to... Nice. But like we said, I don't want it just to go forward. We could do that with a transitions and 2D transform. Once it gets to this point, I want it to go backwards. So let's go here, and we're going to add 50%. So kind of halfway through the 6 seconds or halfway through the duration of our animation. And we're going to copy this and paste it here. And then let's set this one back to 0. So now it's going to start off at 0 pixels, translated X from the left-hand side of our screen, obviously. And then, get rid of a T here. And then it's going to move over 600 pixels at 3 seconds. So let's slow this down to, let's say 9 seconds for now. So at the halfway mark, 4.5 seconds, it's going to be on the right, and then it's going to transform or animate back to the left in the next 4.5 seconds. So there it's translated to the right and translating back. There we go. We've just parked our car. If we wanted it to continue to animate, we can go animation, iteration count. And we can obviously put a number, but you can see here we can also put infinite. So it will infinitely go back and forth in and out of its parking spot, just like a Tesla, all by itself without us having to drive. Okay, so now what we'd like to do is use keyframe animation to be able to turn the car around, drive back the way it came from, and then return again. So what I want to do is I'm going to create a couple more stops, I guess, or a couple of more places. I'm going to change this to 48%, so just before it gets to the end on the right. And then at 50%, I want to do two things. I want to keep I want to rotate, and I guess it's through the y-axis, 180 degrees. And I want to just keep the translation of the x-axis the same, but since we're reversing the rotation, I have to make it minus 600 pixels, so it keeps it in the same position on the screen. After that, then it's going to come back, and I'm going to go to 98%, so just when it gets almost back or to the end, I need to kind of do this the same in reverse. So I'm going to translate it back to 0 pixels as I'm doing the rotation, 180 degrees again. And let's see if I've got this right. So I'll upload that and come back to here. Oh, and I'll add the infinite again. So animation, iteration count, and we'll put it back to infinite. We've got the flip and the flip, and there we go. So now you can see using keyframe animation, we've managed to be able to have multiple movements in our animation, so translating and rotating with multiple stop points. So we go from 0% to 48 to 50, then back to 98%, and then 100, and we control the animation by its duration. The fill mode, although forwards now it should be both, and by controlling the iteration count. I hope this helps.